Ugh. Oh boy, good morning everybody. Welcome everyone to another chill brunch. It's Sunday, August 9th. I'm Evan Abrams, as usual, coming to you from my well-lit home office. Getting really beardy today. Looking bad. Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me here on the stream. And hopefully this is going to be good. I say that all the time, but you never know. Something I should bring up today. We're not going to be continuing on from yesterday. That's not how I do things. Today I'm going to be talking about a plugin someone was asking me on Twitter a lot about this week. They were asking me a lot about CC Sphere, something that we don't jump into a lot. It's kind of an older plugin, but they were trying to use it to make like an eyeball. Some people use it, often I need to take a thing, I need to quickly wrap it around a sphere. So we're going to talk a little bit about this thing, some of its limitations, what we can do with it creatively, and hopefully that's good. I really need to shave. This is getting very itchy. But yeah, it's great to see people hanging out. This is streaming, of course, on Behance Live. It is streaming on the YouTube channel. Good to see people hanging out. The regular team is with us on Behance as usual. We got Kent hanging out. We got Scott. Oh, hey, Mr. Winbush in the house on Behance. Good to see you there, man. That's great. And yeah, it's early over in California, so thanks for coming out. But yeah, let me know if you're hanging out, where you're from, who you are, what you do with After Effects, and what you'd like to do with it. If at any point during the stream you want some clarification, you want us to chill for a moment on something, to expand a little bit more, just let me know. I'm trying to read both chats. I'm trying to stay on top of it. So hopefully it's good. And like I said, if anything seems confusing or weird, or you want to talk about something, then just get at me, and we will get into it. But yeah, let's dive in. For a little bit of context, today we're talking about CC Sphere. Like I said, hopefully that's in the description of everything, so it's good. It is great. So here on the old screen, CC Sphere. CC Sphere is great for making spheres, basically. I'm gonna try to explain as best I can what this thing does, how it works, and hopefully it all makes sense. But in general, what we're looking at is if we start with a layer, right, and then we apply CC Sphere to it, what's going to happen is it will attempt to wrap that layer around a sphere, right? And then we are going to have the ability to manipulate that sphere in various ways. So we can affect the radius of the sphere, making it larger and smaller. We can rotate the sphere on various axes. It's X, Y, and Z axes. We can choose the order in which these happen, which is pretty cool. That's a fun little feature. But yeah, that's I don't know. That's sort of how it goes. And Mr. Winbush, you gotta head over to YouTube. Look, things are cool on YouTube. But as I say, then be where you're most comfortable. If people are not familiar with the excellent Winbush channel, when you get to YouTube, please drop a link to that, because I think people need to know more about what you're doing, the stuff you're putting out, because we're going to be doing some real janky 3D here, but if you want to do true 3D, really immersive stuff, that's the channel you want to check out. So make sure you drop that in. So like I was saying, CC Sphere creates this kind of faux 3D sphere. All right. Now, why I'm saying it's faux 3D, it's not like real 3D. If I make a camera and I place it into the scene, I may be shocked if life has changed, but I'm going to drop that camera into the scene. I'm going to take my camera, and we're going to orbit around. We're going to move. Oh, no, nothing's happening, right? Because this is instead It's not creating a real sphere in the space. But, hopefully... we can kind of explain about what it does. Hold on, I'm just going to type some stuff in here. So, let's get into this stuff and let's see what we can do with it. When would we commonly deploy this thing? Why does it exist? What's happening? Okay, so I'm going to start just a new comp, and a lot of this came from a question someone was asking me on Twitter. They had like an eyeball that they used CC Sphere to make, and then they wanted the eyeball to like look at things, right? They wanted it to easily look at stuff. So why was that challenging for them? Well, let's start by how we would make an eyeball, how we would make any of that stuff, right? So let's see. We need to first make kind of the texture that's going to be wrapped around. Why am I using my head? Anyway, we need to make the texture that's going to be wrapped around. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to use shape layers. So I'm going to make a shape here. It's a rectangle. And a stroke. We don't really need a stroke on here. This is going to be the white of the eye. Let's see. Let's go here. Let's go. All right. And then let's see. We need like a. This will be like the iris, I suppose. I can never reliably make. I don't know why it's so hard for me to make good, whatever an eyeball, the brown of an eye looks like. It's never great. So instead, I'm going to make some real anime purple eyes, I've decided. I will say that I'm also very bad at like natural looking colors. So, okay. So this is going to be the, what part of the eye is that called? Iris? Maybe? I don't know. And then the pupil, I know that one. And so the pupil of the eye is going to be like this. Whoop. Like so. And then we could stylize this stuff with all kinds of wacky things, but just know that this is going to be the texture that we're going to wrap around the CC sphere. Okay. So we're going to take this, we're going to pre-compose it, and we're going to call this the eye texture. Okay. Move everything in there. Don't need to, the length will be adjusted. Sure. And there we go. So this is basically now just it might as well be a picture. It might as well be an image, right? you know what, Joel Petrell in the chat. Yep, it's a new week. It's a new excuse for Evan to draw eyeballs. I clearly have an obsession of some kind. They are, of course, the gateway to the soul. So hopefully that's good. Oh, yeah, and we got people hanging out from Paris, people from Belgium coming in. We've got James Doyle coming in from Southern California. That's great. We have people from India in here. Oh, it's amazing. Oh, Simon from Cape Town. Hello. How's it? Is that... I don't know. I know so few South Africans. My neighbor is from South Africa. Let's see. Yeah, but like I said, any questions, hit me up in the chat. I am here to help, whether you're watching on the Behance, whether you're watching on YouTube. I'll try to help you out as best I can. But we've made our texture, and now I can simply apply to this CC sphere. Now, a little bit of history time. The CC stands for Psychor, I believe. So let me just apply this on here. Hey, look at that. We nailed it already. This looks so good. And let me just learn about, here we go, Psychor effects. Oh, I guess it's been updated eventually. Maps layer onto a ray traced sphere. Right? So this is what it says. This is what it does. It certainly did apply it to a sphere. But it looks kind of stretched out and weird, right? Oh man, is it 35 years old? It can't be. It can't be 35 years old. Oh boy, somebody else Google it. I'm not going to do that. But here's what we want to do. I'm going to just change the radius to get larger. And notice, first off, please notice how kind of deformed and stretched this is, right? Because of the way that the texture is sort of being applied to this thing, right? And so the texture of this thing is getting stretched along the middle, right? And it's getting pinched up at the top, right? Which is not necessarily what we would like, right? That's not super good for our purposes. There are a few ways to get around this. Depending on what you're doing, you could start deforming what's inside the sphere, for example. So we could then go into our texture and be like, well, this eye is too big, so I'm just going to scale stuff down, right? So that I have more space at the top and bottom. Okay, that's working out. Then I guess I can just squish it in a little bit like that. Is that helping a little bit until we arrive at sort of where we want to be? Now, we're doing this kind of jankily in here. And Hello, I'm Flo is saying, do we need to create an equirectangular texture? So indicating that the actual shape of what this thing is will probably have some effect on how the thing looks. And this will be our earliest movement into Tangent Town. So, welcome, of course, to Tangent Town. This is where we take a little break from the regular course to explore some things. So let's call this eyeball texture 16 by 9, okay? I'm going to duplicate this, and we're going to make texture 1 to exclamation point, 1 to 1. You know what? I'm going to use a common naming nomenclature, 16 by 9, and then 1 by 2. Oh, nailed it already. So in the 1 by 1, this would need to be composition settings, 1080 by 1080. Good. Everything's in the middle. So good. So this is going to be a 1-to-1 square, right? And then on the 1 to 2, right, then this thing's composition settings, 1 to 2 would be 1080, and then 1080 times 2 be like that. Okie doke. So I'll just make this a little bit larger. So now we've got these three to play with, okay? So now we're going to go back into this eyeball here, and this is the 16 by 9 version. And I want this to, I'm just going to shrink it down a little bit and move it. Yeah, let's keep it in the middle. Okay, we're going to keep this one in the middle, and I'm going to duplicate it, move one over here, duplicate it, move one over here. Okay, so what do we got? We have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this one over here, we are simply going to replace the source with the 1-to-1 source, stretched out. Oh, that's no good. And now let's go to the other one over here. Bloop. There. So now this should hopefully explain what this concept kind of is, right? That, you know, at 1-to-1, it's getting stretchified. 16 by 9, still a little bit stretchy. And then over here, this actually looks pretty good. So your sort of use case for this is you probably want to be working with things that are 1 to 2. I mean, you know, let's see. Let me just, let's just get real weird with it. And this is turning into video art a lot quicker than I anticipated. So I'm going to make one that is 1 by 3. Okay, so we're going to go 1 by 3, which means we're going to go here, composition settings, and we'll go 1080 times 3, like this, just so that we can see the far side of it as a comparison. So this is 1 to 2. And so its friend will end up over here. And so we're going to go 1 to 3, just like this. So you can see kind of, hopefully, what is happening as these things go on, right? So this is 2 stretched, delete. Oh, 2 squished, delete. Not quite right, delete. So this is where we wanted to be with this. So just keep in mind that when you're creating textures or thinking about these kinds of things, that the map for this thing, whew, my dog is barking at someone at the door, so I hope there are no intruders. But this is something to think about when you're going to make, if you want to work with this, texturing things and the way things stretch over a sphere is kind of finicky, as I think anyone who works in 3D will tell you, because what is happening at the top, things are getting bunched together, and what's happening at the bottom, things are getting bunched together. So the mesh that things are getting deformed over alters the way the texture appears. Okay, so let me just see if I can give a quick example of that. We've arrived at the version of this that we are happy with using. And now I want to apply an offset in here. So I'm going to put an offset here above the CC sphere so that I can shift the center of that eyeball around, which is a great way to make things seem to rotate. But notice as we push those elements towards the top right, they start to get the poles. Yeah, and hello, I'm Flo in the chat. The poles are where things get funky with this. So again, because this is not like an icosahedron or a triangulated, it's not like regular, right? So there is more geometry at the top, and that geometry is pinched. So hopefully that makes sense. But for our rudimentary use of this thing, then hopefully we'll get there. Oh, and in the Behance chat, I'm glad, PD, you enjoy the weird title. Titling things is one of the few joys that I get to have with metadata, because I don't give a hooey about searchability, I guess. Okay, so what was the challenge that I was trying to solve for someone on Twitter? They had this issue that they wanted this thing, this object, to observe stuff. Okay, so they wanted it to seem like it was looking at things, which you could do by messing with these things here with the X and Y. We can make this kind of look over here, look over there. Oh man, it's looking all over the place. But keyframing this stuff was annoying to people. Oh, hey, and hello, Flotoots, hanging out in the chat. Good to see you, man. We would like to take these controls from this space that are annoying to work with and to put them somewhere else, right? To make them more usable. And in particular, they had another layer. I'm going to make a little layer. I'm just going to make a circle. Boop, boop. Because it could have been any layer, really. I think for them it was text. But it doesn't really matter what it is, because every 2D layer is going to have the same deal going on. And so the idea was, how do we get this to look at that? And yeah, it's going to be, you guessed it, it's going to be the look at expression. But we have a few steps to do on our way to that, right? So here's one of them. Here's one of those very steps that we would want to take. So we're going to make a new null. The null is going to live there. And this null needs to be 3-dimensional because we need its 3-dimensional information in here. So we need X, Y, Z. I'm going to start saying Z more now. Information so that we can rotate it and point it at things, right? And in particular, we want this to point at another layer, right? So this is where we would end up, I'm trying to think of how much of this story is useful when solving these kinds of things. Because, so for those of us that the idea is that the one thing has to be linked to the other, right? So logically, in our minds, we must assume that we want to take these, link them to that. Okay, well, that's pretty easy, right? We can just go in here, into the effect, into the CC sphere, into the rotation, into the rotate X, and then pick whip that to the X component of this. Right, then we take the Y and stick it on the Y component of this. So if, not that, Y component of this. So that these are observing the orientation 0 and then the orientation of the 1. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Squeeze me. Okay, so this is behaving normally. And this, yeah, okay, looking over here, looking over there. Hey, look at this. So now we're able to manipulate this eyeball almost like we have a natural control of that eyeball, right? So, and we might as let's link this one. Let's link this up as well. Why not? It's not hurting anybody, even though we probably won't make use of it in this example. That's right. The Canadians will be appeased by my Z, the Z pronunciation. My neighbors included. I am a Canadian. I should be saying that word. But someone is calling on me to open up the Evan panel so that my face will be beautifully framed in our interface. Okay, so we've got this thing looking around, right? It's looking at things, looking so nice. How do we then make this always look at what we want it to look at, right? Well, it kind of does what it says on the tin, right? That we want it to look at stuff. So let me just really quickly, I wonder, having done no research to start this thing, I thought Adobe help look at. Recently, where is it here? Look at. So recently, Adobe has updated their expression language reference document, which is great. I'm just calling it up to make sure that I don't bother you all with things that you don't need to see. Expressions. Here we go. Position. Okay. Look at point. Okay. So here is the new and improved expression language reference for Adobe After Effects. Hopefully this is good for people to enjoy. And this is, kind of trying to harmonize a lot of information. We've always needed like a big dictionary, and this is fairly recent, and I kind of love the way, that this kind of works, that, it's got overview of things, then it's got a bunch of examples. So we want the look at thing, because we want to make one thing look at another. We want it to always point at another thing, right? So this is the thing we'll be using. And what I love about this expression here is that it kind of explains it's going to return an array of size 3, and then the argument from point and at point are also arrays. What? The argument from point is the location of the world of the layer you want to orient. The argument at point is the point in the layer space you want to look at, right? Like it explains how the thing goes, right? And so hopefully that makes sense. And Rohit is asking how many monitors do I have? Just the 2, just the one that I read your chat on, and then this one that I work on, and all the other streaming nonsense is on as well. Okay, so I'll just move that back. So I need to use, that means I need 2 3D layers, one one to do the looking, the other one to be observed, right? So this one is going to be the, I'm going to call this control, and you can see that that is updated down here to be control, and then this is going to be the target, right? So these are my two 3D layers, one to look at and one to be looked upon. One to look, one to be looked at. Okay, so these are the two things. So on the orientation then, if we follow the instructions that the good people at Adobe have given us, we're going to take the look at, we're going to plomp her down here. What is the from point? Well, it's this layer's position, right? Is it? There it is. Position. And what are we looking at? Well, we're looking at this guy's position. Okay, cross your fingers. Hey, look at this. Look at this. So now this thing is looking at this other thing. But now they are, let's see, they're in the same plane, right? So they're like right on top of each other. Like the eyeball is here and the thing it wants to look at is here, and it's just moving around. So we need to have a little forward and backward action going on. So we're going to take the Ctrl and we are going to take its position and move it back a bit. Now, here's where things get a little weird. How far back is reasonable to move this, right? So if it's at 0, hold on, I'm gonna take this target and I'm gonna parent it. Oh no, I should not parent it. Okay. So this thing, needs to live in 3D space, but if this is a 2D layer, what happens if I parent one thing to the other? Okay, that's fine. This is still fine. Everything's fine because this is two-dimensional. I really only need the two positional things. This is going to live at 0. So the Ctrl is going to go into the background. It's going to get pushed back. And we're going to push it back, or forward. Let's see. Which way is backwards? That's backwards. Oh, this is forwards. Oh, interesting. Oh, I see what's happening now. Yes. Okay. So what's going on here is that, so I'm actually pulling the Ctrl towards the camera, right? And when it says look at, notice which way the blue arrow is pointing. It's pointing, feels like it's pointing away, right? But still kind of works out, right? So it is a little bit confusing in this way, but just remember that we have to push the Ctrl, either towards us or away from us if we want this to really work out. And how far is going to be determined by sort of what kind of angle we think will make sense. So it may be different for your project. Anyway, hopefully all that makes sense. Needless to say, janky solution, janky results. Does anyone else in the world say janky? Is this unique to me and the people I went to university with? Please do let me know. But now I can control where the eyeball is looking with this layer. It's working flawlessly. And hopefully that kind of made a little bit of sense, right? We've externalized the control of this to this, and that seems to be working. So now we can simply just keyframe that bouncing around wherever we'd like. I think in their example, they had a text layer, follow me, that they wanted to be observed, right? So we're going to just take that. We don't need this, which I guess is a fly. Stick that on the target. Now I can follow me. It follows it around. Anyway, but yeah. Oh, and someone's saying it would be more clear if we had a look in the old custom view. Like, absolutely. Here's the target. Here's the Ctrl. Did this get more clear, less clear? I'm not sure yet. We can kind of see where they are in relation to each other. This one has been pulled forward. That one's been pushed backwards. Here's the other thing, though. There's no camera in here. They don't have a camera in this zone. Because this is all just a bunch of fakery. This is not a real 3D eye. It is simply an eye that has been stuck on a two-dimensional layer, it lives inside that layer's space. Even if we made a camera, we couldn't orbit around this thing at all. So, yeah. And CC Sphere will not be rendering in that view because CC Sphere is not truly three-dimensional, right? Anyway, so that's one of the pitfalls of, let me say, this thing that we're going to run into. Now, let's see. What else to talk about with this? We should acknowledge the kind of lighting situation that we are. I was going to say enjoying, but I don't enjoy that even a little. You have a couple of options to play around with when it comes to the light. You can change the light's color if you want, so we can have a purple light, I guess, or whatever. You can change the intensity of the light, larger, smaller, right? The height, though, here's where things get a little wacky with the height, okay? I'm going to put the height to 0, or negative 100, I guess. Let's put it to 0 first. So 0 means right over here. Hold on, let me do something. Boop. So 0 means right over here, right? And now we are going to shift from 0, right? That height, what happens if we put it up to 100? Oh, right, this makes sense. Okay, height definitely means this. At height 100, the direction doesn't matter, right? Because that's where that apparently is. Oh, and welcome to the chat, Umacorn. Good to see you back in the Behance chat. So yeah, hopefully this is kind of making sense about what does light height mean? That it's 0. It's right at the side. At a negative 100, it's actually behind the thing. And then at positive 100, it's right on the front. Okay, I'm with you. Light direction, obviously. You can rotate this around to the different directions. Cool. I'm going to stick this at 100. Ambient. What does ambient mean? Well, we can blow this right out. If we do ambient 100, look at that. All of our diffusion gone? Is it? Set diffusion to 0. Now it's completely flat. We've flattened this thing out, right? So now we get to enjoy moving this thing around, but now it's all flat without shading. It's kind of how I usually end up using this because I don't like that. Now, what if the eyeball follows a local light? So one of the challenges that we would have there is what if we wanted a light, like we can go new light and we can plop a light out in the scene, out in this world, but it will have no impact on this. It'll have no impact on this thing because it does not exist in the 3D environment. Okay, so what we would have to do is then tie these various controls such as height, and light direction, which somehow have to be mapped, to control this light. Like, it would make more sense if we attempted to make these various things kind of interact with each other. Like, one would have to lead the other. So we could use this information about the light to control where this light was in the world. That's possible. I don't think I want to do that because that sounds very annoying. But those are the kind of problems we have because all of this, like I said, is internal to CC Sphere. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm dunking on CC Sphere. I think CC Sphere is great and it does a lot of interesting things. Let's enjoy those just after a moment while I take a drink of the water and hydrate. But like I say, if you have any questions for me, if you have any questions, concerns, things you want to dip into, do let me know. We're talking about CC Sphere today, and this is going out on the YouTube live, on the Behance live. I don't know why I'm pointing because both of them are on this monitor in front of me. Behance.net/ECAbrams/livestream is where this good stuff happens. So hopefully it's good. Whew. Oh boy. Oh, yesterday was a lot of bad food, so it really has hurt my body this morning. But we are getting through it. Yeah. Great. Oh, hydrated. Um, MathoCube in the YouTube chat is asking, can we make icons of our favorite presets like the K-bar? I'm sure we could. Something you probably, if you want to make custom little icons, little poons, little PNGs, recommend using like Illustrator for that kind of thing. I use K-bar a little bit. I'm not a power user of K-bar, but just when I'm doing, usually when I'm making templates, I use K-bar because I store a lot of expressions that I commonly use in there. Okay. So I want to talk about some of the common uses we end up using CC Sphere for. The eyeball, of course, we've nailed it with this one. We did it perfectly. No need to worry. What if we wanted two eyeballs? Okay, hold on. I just thought about that in my head and how silly it sounded. But I'm going to make this layer 3D. I'm going to parent it to the Ctrl, and now you can see what the problem with that would be. If we wanted two, moving this wouldn't be helpful at all. We would have to actually move this to wherever this would end up. Oh boy, so many trubs, so many things to try to even out. You know, so many problems because the control has been externalized. Anyway, oh, and hello, Rana. Let me know which of those is good. Maybe neither of those is good. In the Behance chat, and Umacorn is asking, is the 3D? This is 3D without actual 3D, and so this belongs in the weird perspective zone over here, the strange place where a lot of things that seem 3D but are not 3D kind of live over here. CC Cylinder is another one that I'm looking at you, CC Cylinder. For these things that are faking 3D but are not themselves 3D. Drop Shadow's in the mix there. I guess that belongs. But yeah. Okay, so other use cases. Let's get into other use cases. Let's look at world map. So if we're going to create a world map, then let's dip in and try to make that happen. So the output of the world map, we have to use this in a 1920 use case environment, maybe. But in order to make a world map texture, we need to make a 2-to-1, right? It's got to be that 2-to-1 situation. And I'm going to recommend, I know this is going to sound crazy, folks, but I'm going to recommend that if you're going to use something to wrap around the CC Sphere, make it big. Go big with this stuff. So, like, I don't know, 2,000 by 4,000. Get big. Because a lot of that fidelity gets lost when you start doing this stuff. So I need to Google up. Let's see. We're going to look for a world map. Now, map pedants, please. Or maybe not even pedants. Is it even pedantry? I don't know. So the map of the world, as we are used to seeing the map of the world, is often inaccurate, woefully inaccurate, in that certain bands and latitudes are getting stretched and stuff, just like we talked about with our sphere example, right? When we saw that eyeball getting stretched. So taking something spherical and then returning it back to something that is rectangular, right? So if we have the Earth, which we know to be a sphere, and then we are going to return that, we're going to turn that into a rectangular map that we can read. There are so many different, we would call them projections, about how to do that. So if you were going to call up an accurate version of that, right? If we want to take the sphere, we want to take the rectangle and then wrap it back around the sphere, we want to make sure that we are finding a projection that makes sense, right? Such that, you know, everything will be correctly stretched on the ends and then correctly compressed in the middle, so that when we run the process backwards, we end up with an accurate representation of it. Now, many times for clients, they don't really care if it's accurate. They care if it's familiar. So that's, yeah, a challenge, we'll say. Anyway, let me try. Again, this is something I should have done. I had time this morning. I moved the streams to 10 o'clock so that I can do a better job of being prepared. Okay. Is it the version of this I want? I think, and please correct me in the chat if I'm off base on this. I think it's called the Mercator projection. Is that the one that I want? Oh, I'm probably wrong. I'm probably wrong about this. It's something that I do wrong all the time, and then correct myself, and then go back. It's a process of doing things wrong and correcting it so much that I've now forgotten. It has lost a lot of meaning, so it gets really muddied in my head. So let me see if I can find also an image that we can use royalty-free. Would be great to do that. I'd also like the one that has Antarctica in it, please. That's very useful. Antarctica has been scrubbed off of some of these maps, which is not great. That's not what you want. Okay, maybe this is it. I don't know. Mercator projection. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Make it big. Are we making a logo? Oh, that's right, PD, always. Okay. Don't know. I don't know. Some of these do not feel accurate, is the problem. Okay, I'm going to try this one. Save image as. We're going to find out. We're going to find out if it's accurate together. By me being embarrassed by its total lack of accuracy. And again, I've now used a picture that is far too tiny. As you can see how truly abysmal this appears. But hey, we're gonna try to soldier on. We're gonna try to make it work. Designers, make it work. Scale it up a little bit accurately. Ugh, this is so nasty. It's so nasty. And we'll try to fit the seam momentarily. All right. What if we shatter the CC sphere? I like those suggestions. Yes. Joel is asking if I have used the Orb plugin. Yeah, try that out a little bit. So Orb is actually a very useful way of like modern application of this stuff, right? I was wondering, so I don't know, one of the things that I try to do, or maybe I try not to do it, I don't know. My thinking is often that you know, if someone's coming to me with a CC sphere problem, I don't want to suggest to them use different technology, right? I often feel like, I mean, really, if someone came to me with a CC sphere problem, like, well, look, we can do this in Cinema 4D, bing, bang, boom, you know, look at, target, bam, bam, right? We're out of here, you know, crack open Cinema 4D Lite, you'd be done pretty soon. But to engage with their actual problem was kind of my thinking with that. Like maybe they only have access to CC Sphere because of technological limitations. But yeah, definitely check out Orb. I would recommend if your Computron can do the Orb, get it going. Do I even have it installed on here? Probably not. Okay, so I got the Earth texture. I'm going to drop it down. And we are going to do CC Sphere, the topic of today. Plomp. I'm going to deal with the shading problem with 100% ambience, 0% diffuse, so that we can enjoy this. Is this accurate, right? Is our sort of first question. Actually, I have 2 questions for this. I have a lot of questions for this thing. But as we rotate around, I'm looking for the seam. There you are. And let's rotate it thusly. Oh, that actually looked pretty accurate. That looks like a jumbled mess. That looks horrifying. Right? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Is that what the world looks like up there? I don't think so. So let's try to alleviate some of these problems. Right? Let's try. No, it's not accurate at all. Not even close, I would say. Whee. Yeah, this seems woefully inaccurate. These things should look like squares. Oh, goodness me. All right, hold on. France was hidden. Yeah, we need to put a tag out there to mark where France is. Is it an equatorial projection that we require? Oh boy. It's one of those days where you really gotta you really want to be accurate with how the Earth looks. But I'll say this, that for a lot of folks it's good enough, and that is not good. Where all the land masses are stretched. Yeah. So what's really interesting, I mean, we don't usually get to talk about politics on this show too much, and I think today will be no exception, but like what we choose to represent on a map and what's bigger than what says something about what's important on the map, right? So, for example, if on a world map, it looks like this, right? This would be a world map that's centered on Africa, right? But if you were perhaps in a European school, you would see a world map that is more focused on Europe, right? And certainly here in North America, we see world maps that are entirely focused on making North America look just way blown out and like huge. Now, Canada is big, but Canada does not dwarf the entire globe, right? So the trouble is that these distorted projections lead us to think that certain things are bigger than others, certain things are further away, and our sense of the world becomes distorted. I run into this problem a lot when I'm asked to animate maps. The map itself is inaccurate, or at least not a representation of the real space, and then we're asked to do this with it, right? So that's kind of the really weird thing that goes on, because for a client, they might have only ever seen the sort of North American centric map, right? And that North American centric map distorts even the continent of North America in certain ways. So when you're asked to then say, put it on a sphere and show this in the context of the globe, when we do that, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? It becomes physically difficult to do the thing that that they're asking us to do, right? So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, good question. Are you able to share links here? Give it a whirl and see what it does. Yeah, if you have links on the topic, please do share them, and we'll see if they show up. I think I've link sharing should be enabled in the chat. We're gonna find out what happens though. I think I might get a little pop up, and then I might have to like approve them manually, but we're gonna find out. Anyway, so that's my spiel about maps, my map spiel. Also, like I can never remember which way the Earth is supposed to rotate. I'm an absolute dingus when it comes to making maps of this kind, because I think maybe I get hung up on things sometimes, but whatever. It's mine to get hung up on. Anyway, so something I wanted to say while I was on this topic specifically, right? So we've created this map of the world. Maybe we get the correct texture. Someone is saying, could we make the land bumpy or embossed, what the cartoonist look would look like? So anything we wanted to do to this, we would probably want to do here in this texture, which I've really started with a grotesque thing. It's just hideous. We would probably try to simplify this down or to... try to remove some stuff. Boop. I like this. Let's see. So what I'm doing here is I've just taken our map. Ooh, yes. Use the link from NASA to get good world maps. I hope the stream chat isn't blocking links. Ooh, we can get a map here. I guess all right. There we go. Visible Earth, NASA. I can share links because I'm powerful. At least in the sense of this chat window, I'm powerful. Yeah, visibleearth.nasa.gov. Here we go. Boop. There we go. Ooh, yes. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna grab one of these. December blue projection. Ooh, next December. Oh, I'm very interested in a lot of these maps. Stream over. I'm just gonna look at the maps for a while. It's just relaxing to look at maps, you know. Ooh, yes, I can get such big maps. Giant TIFF. Okay. Sorry, everybody. I went really down a map hole with this. I'll self-correct in a moment. I like this topology map. Ooh, this one even has like clouds and stuff. Okay. Oh, page 2 has clouds. Oh boy. Classic derailment here. Okay. Let's go July. Oh, ocean currents. I think what's great is they've stitched together like full daylight over all of these. I hope people are using, are observing these things that we're talking about. Okay, I'm going to download this one. Yeah. Kabam! Old map, I banish you. You're hereby banished. Okay, so now we're just going to scale this down. Now what's pretty great, you're going to notice it's already the correct dimensions. Hopefully this works. Return to this. Weep. Hey, this actually, oh yeah, this looks better already. Yes, okay. So, oh man. Oh no, I deleted it. Okay, I'm going to go back. Hold on. Okay, so we're going to get this. And this one, we're going to scale it down. So hopefully this is going to illustrate kind of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about like things not being real. Hopefully it makes sense. So we've got this thing, and then we got this thing, right? So notice how much bigger Africa becomes, right? So here it's really squishified. So that's bigger. Look at how big North America is. And in specific, like if you just look at the mass of Greenland up here, right? So if you look at the mass of Greenland, I don't know. I say Greenland. So notice how these shapes dramatically change. Antarctica doesn't change that much, but anyway, I hope this makes sense with what we're talking about when we're talking about, you know, squishing equatorial countries and expanding, specifically expanding North American and European countries, right? And why that's so weird, right? So anyway, so congratulations, we've now made ourselves accurate. I'm going to quickly Google which way world spins. The Earth rotates eastwards. Earth rotates eastwards. Is it? Nope. So like this? Anyway, so like I said, we're often called on to do things that are unreal or that that don't make any sense to what we're doing. And you know, it can be confusing and weird. So hopefully this makes sense. Earth rotates to the right. Oh, PD, don't you prank me with those. From the left to the right. So it should be going like this. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this rotation. I'm going to apply like a time. Times 10. Unreal. Wink. And now we've got this kind of slow going. All right. All right. So we can scale this up and down as we like, yada, yada. So we get this nice thing of the Earth. Now, here's something that I'm asked to do pretty often, right? So I've powered this thing rotating, which is great. But often you'll be told to drop things like we want like pins on the map. We want to indicate a place on the map. We want to show a flight going from this point of the map to this other point of the map. And because this isn't real, you know, this is all digital, people. This is not the actual Earth. But because this isn't in a 3D context, I don't really have a surface that I can touch with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go new, new null. I'm going to make this 3D. We're going to call this the core. This is the Earth's core. This layer, I'm going to scale this up to 100% just so that our numbers are making sense. I'm going to change the radius of the planet to 420. Because anyway, and then the core of the planet, I'm going to duplicate that little core null, and I'm going to make a surface null. Okay. So this surface null, if I parent it to the core, and then I move its position, let's move it on the X out, and if I move it out 420 pixels, it should be on the edge of the Earth. Okay, so far so good. This makes sense. So if the core is also going to rotate at the same speed that this is rotating, I could just simply parent one to the other, rotate like so. Okay, so far so good. And now you would think things are rotating. What? Why? So as you can see, it seems to be going backwards. It's going backwards. So we could fix that by just multiplying that by -1. There we go. Now it's going away. It's going to come back on the other side of the planet. Hello. And it's somewhere out here in the Indian Ocean, I guess. Right. So just had to invert that a little bit. And I think this is a problem. But yeah, that we run into. Oh, Flowtooth has got to take off. He makes tutorials as well. So if you need more tutorials in your life, maybe check some of those out. I think he posts them on here, right? Yeah, hopefully we see you next weekend, buddy. So when moving between 3D spaces, we often have to invert axes just because of how things kind of work and count, and it can be a real thing. So just keep that in mind, that sometimes when you're like, oh, why isn't this working good? Well, that could be the reason, right? Okay, so what did I want to do? What was I thinking of? Something. Where should we try to stick a marker on here? Where should we make the attempt to do this? I heard France in the chat. I think that's always a good place to try to put things. So I'm going to put a big dot, big rudimentary dot out there in the world. Borp, like this. Make it 3D. Parent it to the surface null. Okay. The surface null, I think we are going to rotate it to point away from the planet. -90, like that. Now, as you can see, the dot does go behind the planet. We'll rectify that eventually. We'll get there. But let's see. Let's see if we can try to get this where we want it to go. So the core of the Earth, we really just need to rotate this around. So there's kind of two components to what's going on, right? In order to get this exactly where we'd like it to be, we could go I'm going to make a core. Let's see. Okay, I've used the position to push this out, but instead I'm going to use its anchor point to push it out. Has that returned us to where we wanted it to be? Not especially. Okay. Let me have a ponderance. Let me have a ponderance, folks. Thinking. Because what I want, what we all want with our lives is control. Okay. I'm going to reset the rotation of this. Kabam. And the position of this, we're just going to bring it towards us. Like that. So now it's living here. Okay. Now the core. You know what? Just need to duplicate the core. Okay. Yeah. Like pin cushions. Boop, boop. Now, all of this to say is that a lot of this stuff is a lot easier if you simply use a 3D application. Right? This is why the drive towards real 3D is good. Right? Because this kind of thing, this kind of trouble doesn't get you. Right? And that's kind of the issue that we run into. Okay? So hold on. Position. Notice that despite us attempting our best to use our greatest of math powers, we ended up slipping anyway. Somehow we ended up slipping by the narrowest of margins out here, right? That the null does not live on the surface, right? It needs to be clamped back down. Even though the radius of this is 420, there's no weird scaling happening. By the math, we should be where we are, but we're not. We're not where we wanted to be. Didn't happen. Didn't happen that way. And we had to try to clamp this back down. So, that's one of the frustrations that you're going to run into with this is that it doesn't really work out super well, right? Right, and then Element 3D, which is a pretty great thing that's worth kind of checking out, because I think it can do things relative to the camera, right? So we could just move a camera around. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. Now, I've wasted about half of everybody's time here today. I want to thank you all for hanging out because it's coming into 11 o'clock. Which is my time to remind people that this is coming to you on the Behance, on the YouTube, in these multiple places, and that if you want to check out those, I advise you to. It's a good time hanging out on either. But there's a lot of great things happening on Behance.net. So not only could you see me streaming about things, but there are a lot of other people on there streaming throughout the day. We got people doing illustration, people doing Photoshop, a lot of great Adobe apps. So I would definitely say check out the Behance.net. It's a good time over there. I mean, the people in that chat already know. They already know. They're hanging out. But it's great. The Adobe Live program next week coming up. I'll be hanging out on Monday and Tuesday at 10:30 in the morning doing some logo animations. Something a little bit more abstract than this. But that'll be a chill hang. 10:30 Eastern time, Monday and Tuesday. Like I said, hopefully this is good. And we're going to continue our exploration of CC Sphere. So, it's going to be good. Oh, and Joel's at both places. He's padding my numbers. Oh boy, always good to see. Let's see if we can make this pin a little bit more interesting, and we will find out momentarily. One of the things I wanted to address is what happens when we try to bump this into... where are my options? Options? Where did you go, options? Oh, I dropped them. I pressed the button and then I hurt myself. Oh no, I think I broke things. Oh, there they are. Oh, they're hiding out. All right, put this down to 0. Good. Okie doke. So... what I've done here is that I just switched us into Cinema 4D renderer because you might want to stick like a Google style pin out there. Maybe. I don't know. It's a good idea. And in order to make one that's truly 3D out here, is that even close to France? I don't think it is. I think that's closer to like... where is that? Switzerland, I guess. I think I've put it right over top of the Alps. Oops. Anyway, so we'll get into that stuff. But I was just going to say that to make three-dimensional pins can be vexing because we'll have a lot of things to do, and we won't have access to things like transparency and masks and various effects. So we're gonna stick with classic for now. And we'll see if we can continue on. There was some desire to see us maybe make this hollow and see what's going on inside. So that could be fun. Like we did before, we used a little bit of a linear color key on here to just grab this color and make it go away. There's a lot of very similar color out here. Have I installed composite brush? Ugh. Brush? No, I have not. Oh boy, we're not gonna get into that. But if I wanted to, this might hurt Keylight. I don't know why I'm hurting it in this way. But we're gonna just make a hole, make the ocean go away, and oh yeah, and Al Foot Foot is saying, how do we occlude the pin? That's a pretty good idea, actually. Let's do that first. Let's talk about doing that, and then we'll do this. Okay. So here we have an interesting problem that's going to happen, right? That as this thing goes around the Earth, it should no longer be seen, right? Really love Independence Day. It's a bad movie, but I can't stop watching it. This thing needs to be occluded or no longer seen. So how can we make that happen, right? Well, the best thing would be if there was a new shape layer. Boop. And we're going to make this like garishly bright yellow. And how big should it be, right? 840, right? Because that's the same size as that. Okay, I'm with you so far. And it should be three-dimensional, right? It should be three-dimensional. Such that when this thing passes over the horizon, goodbye, it's no longer visible, right? That would make sense. So we do get a bit of a corona, right? Like a so. And the trouble is that these things are now in conflict with each other. So how are we going to resolve this? How do we resolve these troubles, right? When you put this thing in between, that's no good, right? That's not great because when we have this problem that when it's here we need to see it, when it's there we need to not see it. How are we going to get there? How are we going to get from here to there? I've tried many a way to make this kind of work. One of the ways that you can try to go about it, you might manually turn something on and off. One of the nice things is that you can still kind of pre-compose things and then deal with them in their own space. So, for example, we're just going to make this thing dark, right? We're going to make this thing light. And this thing might change. We might turn this and we might put something more interesting on there, right? But if we were to say, hypothetically, if we were to use this and we were to, I'm going to make a duplicate here, and this one's going to be like this. This could then be used as a luma mat to say when we should be seeing this, right? That fits together in a way that the visible space of one can define the other. Now, the trouble is that you need to be thinking about pre-comping and all that stuff such that like all of these controls and stuff can start to get in the way. So let me just really quickly, what's going to be the easiest way to do that? At least to demonstrate it in this early phase. That's going to be kind of granular and unpleasant. So it doesn't, like, if you wanted to do this non-procedurally, right, you would turn something on and off as it goes by, right? There's a question in the chat from Simon about how setmat would go down with this. Well, let's find out, right? We have the power. We can see how that goes. So we've got our occlusion, we've got our real pin, and the real pin needs to be occluded by that. Set mat, not on that, put it on the real pin, right? And we're going to observe the occlusion, and so one will appear where the other is, disappears, right? Unfortunately, goes away, right? Because it can only appear where the thing is. So that kind of does it, right? that it can only appear on the surface, and then it's away. So that kind of nails it a little bit. I mean, except that we would have to take that occlusion away. Oh, it's back. You got me. Right? So what if you want to make the CC sphere layer 3D? It's not truly 3D, but it's the same as making the circle shape layer 3D, and it's just a plane. Right. So making this thing 3D, boop. So don't worry about these occlusions. Don't worry about these things. Don't worry about that set mat. That actually kind of hooks us up with what is probably the more viable of the solutions. One place where this can really fall down is if you start kind of moving things. But yeah, just always remember that this is a pane of glass and it may become a pain in your butt. Just don't ever bump anything. That's the only thing I can say about this, is don't ever bump anything. But yeah, so this gets you there in a nice kind of way. What's wrong with that edge? Anyway, the point is that this can be helpful, right? Now, yeah, someone is saying, hey, change distance, get nearer or farther from this. Ooh, that makes steam come out of my jacket there, Andy. Changing distances is going to be really hard, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, so we've got a solution. We've got a solution on the occlusion of this pin. I wanted to make a better pin, so we're going to make this the Google pin. Kind of this Google pin shape. I'm going to make it kind of small because I don't think it needs to be super large. Like there. Oh, I'm also very hungry today, everybody. I just heard my tum-tum grumble. Ugh, that's not good. I'm just converting this path into some points. Whoop. That's pretty close. Things Evan says a lot. That's pretty close. Close enough for me. I could probably just turn on snap to grid. That might be the better way. All right. I am okay with this. I like to position things kind of in the middle center. Maybe that's not for you. Maybe you're more of a bottom of the thing kind of person. Kind of like that. Whatever we do with it, though, when we go back out to here, we take our googly pin and we will put it right here. All right, Mr. Winbush, we will see you. He's got to go hit the trails because it is quite early over in California, and you'll want to get out there before everyone's out there dealing with their Instagrams. You'll have to dodge a lot of people taking selfies out there on the trails, my man. But stay safe, and we'll see you again soon. So I want to take the Google pin. I'm going to parent it to that real pin, and I am going to change the anchor point to be down here at the bottom. I'm going to rotate it a little bit. I'm going to rotate it so that it pops up. Whoop, pops up by 90. And then, of course, we can scale it down like that. And then we don't really need to see the real pin anymore. And that's relaxing, you know, when it just works by going behind. Oh, how nice is that? So there is a request. Hold on, I'm going to rotate this some more. There we go. So that the worst of its crime is not super noticeable to us. All right. Goodbye, Pin. Hello, Pin. Oh, you're back. So there was a question about moving towards and away from this thing, right? We're going to see how that goes. I'm going to make a new camera. I'm going to make it a 50 millimeter. Okay. Okay, here we go. I'm going to move away. I'm going to move forwards. How does that feel? Ah, that actually feels pretty good. That's not terrible. So let's go position of this. Where things will get a little bit weird is if we start to move off axis, it can start to look a little bit strange. But so far the illusion does hold up, you know? It's not terrible. I'm not going to rotate the camera. I refuse, but, you know, not terrible. Whoa, it's the planet Earth. Hello. I don't like that at all. I don't know why. I don't know why I did that. Oh, the pin. Oh, you think the pin is changing position? Haha, it is indeed. It is specifically changing position in. Now, why is the pin changing position over the surface of the Earth? Well, because this thing is not a globe. It is not 3D. It is the impression of something that is three-dimensional stuck on a two-dimensional thing. Hovering above it currently is this pin, right? So let's go to Custom View 1. Here's the flat thing. Here's the pin hovering above it as if it belongs, but it does not. And only when we are able to observe it in certain ways will it appear to look correct. So that's the caveat about when we make this three-dimensional, when that's three-dimensional. Remember, it's not a sphere, it's a plane, right? It's a plane, and that means, you know, it's just a disk, right? We've flattened the Earth, as some corners of the internet would attest to. And that's why we run into that amount of weirdness when we start to move around. Right? So. Let's see. Oh, we got a question here on the Behance chat. Are there any tricks or plugins that help you mirror handles? Like where you're trying to make two handles the same on opposite sides of an object. Two handles the same on opposite sides of the object. Good question. I'm not totally sure. So whenever, is this about like this bounding box? What talk to me about handles, and we will. I'd love to know more. This is coming at you, Alfoot, Foot, one of the two. When you're doing, when I was doing the point of the pin, like drawing with our Bezier handles, to have these mirror. There is a plugin. Let's see. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up real quick because I've forgotten the exact name. What was it called? What is it called? Oh, my body. Oh, my goodness. Pen Pal. That's what it was. Right? Pen Pal. Pain-free path editing. Is this part of Pen Pal? Is this something you can do? Center, flip, point functions, move up, left, right, break, match angle, match length, swap, flip. I don't know. Maybe this will get you where you want to go. Boop. Foot, like the thing at the end of the leg. All right. Good. Owl foot it is. So maybe Pen Pal can get you where you want to go with some of that. Hopefully. Maybe. I'll put it in both chats just because I'm talking to all people. Okay. Let us return. So we got our Google pin. We put it on the map. It's moving around. We're zooming into the thing. So this is why I kind of recommend that you deal with things like you pop objects on only after we have kind of resolved to close to where we want to be at, right? So, you know, we wouldn't probably edit the value graph. Oh boy, my tummy grumblies are really going to hurt me today. That we would want to pop the pin when we're pretty close to where we want to be. Just because the further away that we get, it becomes strange. But yeah. So this is kind of like we say, this is some of the old schooliest sort of techniques that we run into with this kind of a thing. Because as we know, CC Sphere is a little bit of an old-timey remnant. Not remnant. It's still useful. Like, hopefully you can see kind of some of the uses that are coming up here and how kind of functional this stuff can be. But as people have pointed out in the chat, there are a lot of great kind of newer technologies than CC Sphere. However, I still enjoy a lot of the CC things. These faux perspective things can still be a lot of fun when you don't necessarily want to dip into either a 3D experience or you may have hardware limitations. There are a lot of things that you can still do with what you have. Even in our 2.5D environs here. So hopefully this is good and helps to make stuff make sense. What was I thinking about doing? Something. Let's see. And close down some windows. I have too many windows open. What else can we do with CC Sphere? Does anyone have any thoughts, desires, things they'd like to see with it? Other quandaries they have about it? Always interested in what people are thinking and feeling. If only because, you know. Oh, should we use it for more abstract? Hey, you can do a HUD, kind of like an Iron Man style thing with it. Oh yeah. I haven't even dipped into some of the interesting cutting and wedging of this thing. Okay, maybe that's something fun to do. So right now we're looking at one part of the sphere. Ooh, hold on. Ooh, I got some stuff in my eyes. Okay, so let's go new abstract. Yeah, I'm going to do this. Good. And let's make like a old timey kind of like an old time kind of logo, like a VHS era kind of logo. So make a new. All right, so we need to make grid texture. All right. As we know, things have to be in that, you know, one tall, two wide. Great. New, solid. Make it the comp size. Okay. We're going to apply a grid to this. So we're going to generate grid. Another favorite on here. Do we want to do it by grid? Because we could do it manually as well. And maybe that will provide us more control. Oh, boy. Decisions, everybody. Decisions. What will bring us more joy to do? Let's do it manually. Let's make this manually. I'm going to start by crafting the vertical bars. Vertical bars here. Yeah, okay, we're going to go like that. And then we might add to this a repeater. Repeaters are cool. I promise you. How many bars do you think? Let's try 8. Is 8 going to be fun? Maybe. Yeah, okay. Yeah, because if we push them too far, what I'm trying to do is to basically hide the seam here on the edge, right? 'Cause I'm on the edge. Ugh. Because I guess we don't have to, right? I guess I could try to put it there, but I think it's better to do it there. But these don't necessarily have to be equal either. Ponderances. Okay. Stop making myself crazy with this stuff, as I do too often. So we stick this right on the edge, then repeat as many times as you need, right, to get to the other side. Let's do 10. If there are 10 of them, therefore, we need to push them 500 at a time. Bang, 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 bang. Okay, we're done. We're done with that. Now let's do our horizontal stuff. Let's see. Joel is trying to pretend he doesn't know what a VHS is. You'd be exposed when I say that beta is the superior format. Oh, and Umacorn's got to take off. She's experiencing a bit of a heat wave in the Behance chat. Hopefully you feel better soon, and that there's ample air conditioning waiting for you at some point. I don't know if I could survive without air conditioning. I'm very weak. Okay, so vertical bars, H bars. Oh, man. I will bother to write one, but not the other. So this So we're going to have an equator. Now remember that things get squished up at the top, right? Things get squished. So that means we kind of need things at the top and bottom. So because I know I'm going to need to refine this a little bit, I'm going to go add repeater. I'm going to drop in a repeater that gives me 2 copies and that doesn't push it on the scale or on the position. Because what I want to do is I want to take this, move its position up, and have basically 2 copies that I can kind of try to refine what I want like this. Okay, good. And let's make another series of bars that are going to be a little bit thinner and a little bit more. Maybe like that. Okay. So this is gonna become something else. So the question I'm getting asked here in the chat is why not use the grid effect, right? Well, we've talked about this a little bit before, that the grid effect produces a regular grid. But we need to anticipate that it's going to be wrapped around an irregular situation, right? And we want to have fine control over these things. And we're going to find out how that looks in a moment. So we're going to take our grid texture, drop it down here. Apply the CC sphere. So we end up with this. Increase that radius. And let's, for now, see if we can improve this situation. So the question was, why not use grid, right? So let's go We're going to Tangent Town. We gotta put the regular grid onto the thing. So we got this regular grid, right? Which we can use to make rectangles of all shape and size, which is great. Wonderful. Or we could use it to make a regular grid, right? Very regular. So this is what would happen if we had that. So if this is the kind of regular to irregular you're looking for, then we would want to go in with that, right? So we can modify this in some ways, but I kind of wanted fine control over sort of these what we would call polar regions. So if I want to fatten those up, now I can get a thicker polar region, which I guess is kind of what we're all after. I guess, I don't know. And then to try to pinch these together, maybe. I don't know. I think overall everything's just a bit too thick regularly. So I'm going to probably thin out a lot of this. Polar bars. Polar bars sounds like a delightful Canadian ice cream. So let's see. What do I think about those? Are those the correct thickness for me? Kinda. Oh well, we're getting votes in the chat that we'll just stick with the old grid, and we'll see how that goes for us then. So I need to move this along to make other stuff. All right. So what I would like is a grid. I would like it to be see-through, right? So the blending mode here is going to be set to none, so that this has transparency holes. We go back into here, and would you look at that? We got some transparency holes. So what we can do in this space is to take this thing and let's make it rotate. Now you can see, we can see both sides of the thing. We could render just the outside of the sphere, just this part, rotating only the outside. So far, so good. Kind of want to chunkify this a little bit. So let's make it a little bit more chunky, I think. And yeah, so one of the issues that we have, hold on, is that we're going to end up with this seam, right? This unseemly seam, because there's no bar at that point. I'm going to change the color of this grid just so I can see it a little bit. A little bit better. There we go. Yeah. Oh, actually, no, that is fine. The color was confusing me. Okay, so we do have a line here. We do have a line there. This looks fine. Let's go 400. Ugh, doesn't like that. Right, it's got to be a factor. Oh, got to be factors of each, huh? Always got to be like that. This is why we would go width and height sliders, so I don't have to worry about those. There we are. Clunk. Anyway. And we've got a question. Do I ever include Cinema 4D into my workflow when it comes to Mograph? Sure do. Often. I like it. And there's a lot that we can even do just in Cinema 4D Lite that comes bundled with our After Effects install. So I'm by no means, though, as comfortable with it, we'll say, as I am with this program. So just word of warning there. So that's why I don't usually do too many tutorials about it. But if you're happy to see me kind of fumble around and try to find menus sometimes, then we can definitely get into that. Okay, so this is, yeah, let's thicken this up a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take CC Sphere, and I am going to, we're only looking at the outside, so I'm going to apply a fill to that. Is that what I want to do? Do I want to deal with these beveling edges? Thinking about beveling. I'm thinking about beveling, folks. Dangerous thoughts, I know. This is looking appropriately bad. So what am I creating? Kind of a VHS crappy logo. That's kind of what we're going after today. Kind of looking for that kind of badness that comes with this kind of a thing. Okay, I want to set this thing in motion because, you know. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. This grotesque seam. Ugh, get that gross seam out of here. This unseemly seam. Oh, boy. I won't stand for it. Okay, maybe let's not bevel it in here. Let's bevel it outside. Let's take it outside. You know? Maybe that'll make us happier later. We'll find out. We'll find out if it makes us happier. But yeah, so we got this kind of thing. Ta-da! Welcome to CompuServe. So I've got front, back. What I'm trying to do is simplify this stuff, right? I'm trying to get simple. So we're only going to have the inside back here. We make lasers here, and lasers are strong. Our nation needs more lasers. So now we have this kind of two-tone. You don't make lasers, you make wiffle balls. But now we've got an inside and an outside of this pattern. Here at Computech, not only are lasers our passion, they're also our job. Lasers. I promise you, I don't want to make fun of companies that are just really into lasers. I do think lasers are cool. I don't want anyone to think I'm not pro laser. I'm certainly not anti laser. That much is for sure. Yeah. We make only the finest of laser-based wiffle balls. Many people said it couldn't be done, and that it shouldn't be done, but we still did it. And ever since my daddy was killed in a terrible laser accident. That's not, you know what, that's not as funny, because people actually can be hurt with lasers, so. What if I do like this? Is that pleasant? Today's episode, Evan asks, is that pleasant? Okay, that does a good job of blocking what I didn't like. Good. Oh, you know what? Now I'm becoming very vectory, so I apologize. I know, the original intention was to make something more 80s feeling, and I feel like I've really just taken that and thrown it in the trash. And yeah, PD. You know, PD on the Behance has the size of it. Is that pleasant? Is the new do I like this? Because it doesn't really matter if I like it. It's not for me. That's yeah, maybe the astutest observation so far. One of the things that's often interesting is to think about like what technology was available at the time, right? Like, how would have someone during the olden times have had to sort of construct this? You know, what technologies would they have had access to? Would they have had to have actually make something physical and then film it? I wonder. I think about that often enough. Who likes Trapcode Starglow? Everyone. I don't know, folks. I don't know. Oh, Nick Canton is asking, how do you feel about the idea of using an empty shape layer as a null so they don't fill up your project? I don't know. I like nulls because they hold no information. I mean, a new layer is a new layer, right? Oh, I guess it kind of does look like a lantern. Oh, I like that. You know what? I think I like that direction a little bit better. Making fun of lasers can only get me so far in life. There we go. Yes, good. Shine, 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 shine. Anyway, we've made a perfectly bad thing, which is great. Let's see. Yeah, let's see what's going on in the chat. I'm gonna be gotta move on to some other things in my day. Hopefully, we've talked a lot about CC Sphere and its various functions, uses. Hopefully, ugh. I don't know. I don't know if we did. Maybe we got where we wanted to go with it. I hope. I hope we did. I hope this was helpful and useful. But yeah, if you have any other quandaries about the CC Sphere, I would love to kind of get to them if we can. Ooh, nope, not that. There we go. That's what I wanted. Something more like that. Ooh, no. Ooh, change my mind. Ugh, Gibsies backsies. Okay, that's more wiffle ball. Anyway, but yeah, hopefully this was good. Oh man, so if you're not in the Behance chat, you're missing out on a lot of great sort of, I don't know, I don't want to say trivia stuff, but like we're talking about things like Scanimate. We're talking about Codaliths. All these wonderful, I don't know, words that could only come from the developer of various of technologies back in the day. But if you haven't heard of a Scanimate, please Google it. You'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy where that goes, I hope. Okay, I'm going to take these. I'm going to pre-compose them as the weird logo object. Because I was interested to see what happens if you bevel. Yeah, okay, you end up with this. Clunk, 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 clunk. Yeah. Trying to see, like, is this crappy enough? Has this achieved a level of crapitude that I'm happy with? No, not really. I like when, all right, I'll be honest with you. I like things sometimes that are like bad. So, I like when things don't quite work out or they're clearly being used for the wrong purpose. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's see. Let's see if there's any quandaries in the chat before we kind of wrap it up around here. I guess I should probably say what we did during this thing as a nice recap. We were talking about CC Sphere, this wonderful strange thing that can do all kinds of interesting things. When you really apply yourself, you can end up with all kinds of wonderful and interesting things in the world. So we were playing around with it based off a question off Twitter, and hopefully we got places. We made this eyeball here that could follow an object around. That was pretty great. I think that might be the best use of it we've had today. We made a world map. We talked a lot about map projections in general. I think that was pretty productive. And we've learned a lot of fun words together, which is great. And then we made this very bad abstract kind of globe thing, which I think was great. But yeah, hopefully that is great. But that pretty much does it for me. I'm gonna have to roll on and do some other things with my day, but it's been fun hanging out with everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this kind of a thing. It's always nice to take a moment and just talk about an effect ad nauseum for a while. Who knows what we'll get into next week? If you have any suggestions, hit me up on Twitter, get at me on Instagram. I'm at EC Abrams on those places. I'd love to see what you're making. So, if you're able to send that at me, then it would be great to see. I'm so hungry. So we'll be back next week, 10 o'clock in the morning, Saturday and Sunday on here, on both of these places. On the Behance /ECM /live stream and on the YouTube space where you're watching it now. If you like what you're seeing, then you should probably follow on both places. So I think there's a follow button of some kind on Behance.net. And of course, always, like, subscribe, whatever, do that stuff. But on Monday and Tuesday, I'll be doing some logo animation, some more contemporary logo animation stuff than what we were doing here. A little bit more abstract, a little bit of Illustrator workflow, so Illustrator to After Effects stuff. That'll be on the Adobe Live program, so hopefully you stick around for that. I should make myself a little bit more presentable for those kinds of things. Coming up the rest of the day. But thank you so much for hanging out. Thanks for chilling with me here. This was great, and I hope to see you all later on around the internet. That's it for me. It's always a pleasure, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now, and have a great day.